when I got out of college, I went back for another season in Alaska, and then after that season, I started going back and forth between Patagonia, Chile, and southwestern Alaska. So I spent 8 months out of the year in Chile and 4 months out of the year in Alaska, and I did that for a decade. Hey guys, my name's Jason Schuster. I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I went to the University of St. Augustine in Florida, got my doctorate degree in 2014. I got my manual therapy certification through the University of St. Augustine a few months after I graduated. And then I worked as a traveling physical therapist in outpatient clinics for about 6 or 7 years. Let me just give you a little bit of information about myself. I think people are interested in this sometimes. So before I went to grad school, I was a Division I ice hockey player in college. I went to the College of Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts. After that, I decided to become a fly fishing guide because fishing was the other thing that I like to do more than anything else aside from playing hockey. So after college, well actually when I was in college, I started working as a fly fishing guide in southwestern Alaska in the summertime. And then when I got out of college, I went back for another season in Alaska. And then after that season, I started going back and forth between Patagonia, Chile, and southwestern Alaska. So I spent 8 months out of the year in Chile and 4 months out of the year in Alaska. And I did that for a decade. And then I went back to school. I had to take all my prerequisites over again because I got, and I'm very proud of this, you guys, I got a 2.3 GPA in college. All I did was play hockey and drink beer really in college. And then, so I had to go back and take all of my prerequisites over again. I went to Portland State University and a community college in Clatsop, Oregon, and took all my prerequisites over again. I got a 4.0 on all of those classes. I applied to one school and I got into grad school. When I was a fly fishing guide, I'll show you guys a couple of pictures. This is where I lived in South America. The left two pictures are in Chile, so those are the Andes Mountains. That lake is where our fly fishing lodge was located, and that lake had a river going down to the ocean, so our lodge was about 20 miles upstream from the ocean. The left picture is just me in front of a glacier. We had glaciers at sea level down there, so it was really, really cool. In Chile, we had little Magellanic penguins that would walk from the ocean up the rocks and into the jungle. It was very, very odd to see, but really, really cool place. The right picture, that was a picture from southern Ecuador. I bartered for that surfboard to be made for me. So I traded a little Ecuadorian guy, his name, he called himself Cilindro. And that is a handmade surfboard from Ecuador. This guy made it in a little tin shack on the side of the beach. Really, really cool. Is a bear. That is at the Brooks River in Alaska in Katmai National Park. One of the coolest places to go if you guys ever get a chance. It's really, really neat. You can watch bears eating salmon and the salmon jumping over the waterfalls. It's really, really cool. That was in Belize. That's called Zunanzanich. That's one of the biggest Mayan temples in Belize. Really, really cool to see all the architecture and stuff down there. I also got malaria in Belize, so don't get malaria. Malaria is not fun at all. I was in a coma for a couple days. So malaria, if you guys don't know, is a parasite that gets put into your body from mosquitoes, and then the parasite eats the hemoglobin out of your red blood cells and it deoxygenates and desugars your body from the inside out. It's not fun, so don't get malaria. That was a picture of a puma that I took on one of the trails that we had. It was a birding lodge. It was an eco lodge. This was the first time that I had done a job aside from fishing outside of college, and I was a little hesitant to take it, but man, it was really, really cool. If you guys haven't done any birding, it's very, very fun to see all the cool little birds. And Belize and Costa Rica are two of the best countries to do that in. This is some of my artwork. So I was a studio art major in college and a hockey player, and then I was a fishing guide for 10 years. And then I went back to school to get my doctorate degree. So the left picture, since when I was in college, I've trapped and trained a handful of birds, hunted rabbits and squirrels with them. It's really, really fun. That's a 2-foot by 4-foot charcoal drawing that I did for Ryan, who's my COO, my best buddy from 6th grade. He still has that up on, in his house, so that's pretty cool to me. The right 4 pictures, that's in a gallery that I had in Boston. Those were some drawings or paintings that I did when I was in college. The ones on the ends are 2 feet by 4 feet on wood. The ones in the middle, or sorry, the ones on the ends are 4 feet by 4 feet. The ones in the middle are 2 feet by 4 feet, and it's acrylic and pastel and oil paint and wood burning pen and stain on actual pieces of wood. I still like to paint and draw all the time. It's very, very fun for me. That's the biggest trout that I've ever touched in my life, you guys. That one was 32.5 inches long. I think it was 21 inches around. It was about a 20-pound trout. So that's what Alaska rainbow trout look like. If you look at its belly is full of eggs. So when you pick it up, they just start barfing out eggs. It's really, really cool. But that was the biggest fish, biggest rainbow trout that I've ever seen. And that guy who caught it had never fly fished a day in his life. It was amazing. That's on a river called the Kukoklik River, coming out of Kukoklik Lake in Alaska, right near Katmai National Park. Very, very beautiful place to go. That's another picture of the Brooks River. You can see all the red things. Those are salmon, and you can see the 3 bears there. Sometimes, man, it's really, really cool. Sometimes there was like 10 or 12 bears out there, and they'd have big fights for the best spot. And different times of the year, you can see salmon jumping up over the waterfalls. I think I have it on the next picture here. Yeah, so the right picture, those are silver salmon jumping up over the Brooks River waterfall there. The left picture is a lightning storm in the ash cloud of a volcano. I never knew this happened, but when I was in Chile, I'll show you on the next slide, there's a picture of right when it erupted, but I believe it was May 2008. So in May 2008, I was sitting in my living room. You guys can see the mouse arrow there. I bought that house for the equivalent of $10,000 in pesos. So the Andes Mountains, and the ocean was just a couple blocks away from there. And in May 2008, that volcano erupted while I was sitting in my living room, and we had to evacuate the town on a boat to an island off the coast of Chile, and the entire town got wiped off the map. It got wiped into the ocean. So that picture of the lightning storm was from the barge that we took to the island later on that day after it erupted. Apparently that was one of the fastest recorded times when a volcano from the first sign of activity to when it erupted was less than 24 hours. So very, very fast. Nobody knew it was going to happen. Very interesting experience, I guess. That is the eco lodge that I managed in Belize. So I think we had space for like 30 guests. I had like 20 employees. And those guys down there, you guys, they spoke actual Mayan. It's really, really cool. So I speak fluent Spanish. I learned how to speak Spanish when I was in South America. And in Belize, they actually still speak Mayan. So there's 4 major languages in Belize. They have a Creole type language. They have Spanish. They have English, which is listed as the primary language of Belize, but it's not. It's Spanish and Creole. But very, very cool place. Those are bears. Those are, so it's very rare to see a mom with 3 bears, right? So with 3 cubs. They usually have 1 or 2 cubs, and it's hard for them to keep them around. Those little guys are probably 2 or 3-year-old bears. That's about when they get kicked out from their mom. But the male bears will actually kill the baby bears, so the mom goes back into heat so they can have sex again and make more babies, right? So the moms are very, very protective of the bears. They're really, really cool, you guys. The little grizzly bears are like dogs. They growl and they wrestle and stuff. It's really, really cool. That airplane right there, that is a de Havilland Beaver. We had 3 of those. They're like $1 million airplanes. So when I was in Alaska, I wasn't doing the crazy crab fishing that people think of. I was working at very, very high-end fly fishing lodges, and we had 3 of those airplanes. Each guide would have two guests, and we would fly out in the morning to some river. We'd get dropped off, we'd fish all day, and then the pilots would come pick us up at the end of the day. And if they didn't come pick us up at the end of the day, we would sleep out with the bears, which happened to me, I think 3 or 4 times in the 11 seasons I spent up in Alaska. So I spent 7 years down in Chile, 11 seasons up in Alaska. Really, really cool stuff. That picture on the left is a tarpon. That's my favorite fish to fish for, you guys. That's the best fish I've ever caught in my life. That was like 74 inches long, I think, so over 6 feet long. Best fish I've ever caught on my fly rod. It was really, really awesome. It was about 185 pounds, we think. Another bear on the right. That bear actually ended up eating a fish like 1 foot away from me. Pretty funny. After the fact, I thought I was going to die for a little bit, but that's just a little guy. Nice little bear.